on this episode of Our Kids.
One big bad thing has happened to America over the last 30 or 40 years. There's been a shriveling of our sense of obligation for other people. If you hear somebody talking about our kids now, they mean their own biological kids. And if you talk to people about the poor kids, they say, well, that's a sad story, but they're not my kids, they're somebody else's kids. Let them take care of them.
How could you say that if you don't know our story? How could you say, oh, it's our fault? It's not that for my dad to be a drug dealer. I didn't ask for my mom to have to work 24/7.
My mother passed away when I was 4 years old, and my father, he just made bad choices.
I used to wander off, used to do whatever I wanted to, never really had somebody there to tell me not to do bad things.
I was getting sick and tired of being the target, so I became the bully.
In a country as rich as America, that over 40 million people are living in poverty is despicable. It's
Our last resort would be sleeping in my car. And that's not a proper place for a kid to grow up.
But I kind of felt like I was homeless.
The promise that I think has been broken for our children, that's the promise of the American dream. The promise that it doesn't matter where you're born, as long as you work hard, you can reach whatever heights you want to. That's not true anymore. That's not true in America anymore. The kids that are born into the lowest income quintile have a very, very small chance. Most of them, over 60%, will stay in the bottom income as adults.
My book, Our Kids, illuminates the causes and problems of the opportunity gap that is crippling our nation and threatening the future of millions of children.
This is a terrible problem, this growing gap between rich kids and poor kids. But I'm actually optimistic. And I'm optimistic that we can fix this.
Often inspired by my research, communities around the country are searching for solutions to bridge the gap, to ensure a better future for all our kids.
What do you say? It's gonna be a happy day.
On this episode of Our Kids, we visit the communities of Riverside, California, and the area in northern New England around Manchester, New Hampshire. In both areas, individuals and organizations are coming together to collaborate in finding unique ways to bridge the opportunity gap. A common thread in many of these stories is the importance of mentors in young people's lives. One person can also make a huge difference, sometimes bypassing bureaucracy, to forge their own solutions that can now be emulated. Riverside, California is located 55 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. Founded in the early 1870s, it is known as the birthplace of the California citrus industry.
On our stationery, it says that we are diverse, we are inclusive, we are committed, and we are proud. And that means everybody in the city. Narrowing the opportunity gap in Riverside has truly been part of our DNA from the beginning.
We have our challenges. Our income levels are below the average. Our educational levels are below the average.
And I'm so grateful for Robert Putnam to come to Riverside and to inspire us. And there's still conversations going.
As a policeman, we are asked all the time, what can we do to prevent crime? So we tell people the conventional things, lock your doors and don't leave things in the car that the crooks can see and all that. But I really believe that the number one crime prevention thing that we could do is to not throw people away. You have to be very, very careful about taking hope away from a person. It's a very dangerous thing to do.
Yeah. No teen is unloved or beyond hope to Ron Gardner and Lynette Jones.
Everyone would celebrate Fernando Delgado just passed his math basic skills.
They open their home and their hearts to teens abandoned by society, many of whom have given up on themselves.
I've been called worthless, drug addict, lowlife.
They called me an asshole or a faggot.
I was always labeled a bad kid. Even with my family, I was labeled bad.